morning children, welcome back to my channel. Today our topic is devotional paths to the divine. Medieval Indian history has been influenced a lot by these devotional paths, which is also referred as Bhaktism and Sufism. Here, today's lesson will be based on initial stage or the first stage of Bhakti, how it has emerged in India and what was its progress and features, which groups were involved in this movement, and how it has spread from South India to North India gradually. The first slide you can see the idea of a supreme God. Before large kingdom emerged, different group of people worshipped their own gods and goddesses. There was no conflict, there was no discrimination. According to the choice, they can worship their god and goddesses in form of nature, Agni, then Bayu and Soma plant. We read it in class 6. Bhakti, that term advocated in the Bhagavad Gita, that grew in popularity in the early centuries of the Common Era. So when I am talking about the Vedic age and the early Vedic and later Vedic age, that time, that particular concept of religion, it has introduced. Along with that, the Hinduism and Brahmanical supremacy. Beside that, the Gautam Buddha preached his teaching, and which was followed later on known as Buddhism, and Mahavira, which teachings he preached, that thing came to be known as Jainism. Those were also came into practice in the society. Here the Bhakti, which term has given in Bhagavad Gita, that grew popularity in the early centuries of Common Era. That is means the later Vedic age end and the end of ancient Indian history. Here the concept of Supreme God also gained popularity. There Shiva, Vishnu, Durga as supreme deities came to be worshipped through elaborate rituals. Puranas were also introduced into the local cults. There the ritual activity as well as the same time different kind of local cults also emphasized by Puranas, which is recommended by them, and it was possible for the devotees to receive the grace of God regardless of their caste status. The idea of Bhakti became so popular, even Buddhists and Jainas adopted these beliefs later on. So how this particular Bhakti-ism developed in India, that we will see the next slide. A new kind of Bhakti in South India, which has been led by Nayanars and Alvars. It is in South India. The 7th to 9th century saw the emergence of new religious movements led by the Nayanars, saints devoted to Shiva, and Alvars, saints devoted to Vishnu. They came from all castes, including those considered untouchable, like Pulayar and the Panas. Their ideals of love and heroism were found in the Sangam literature. They were influenced by Sangam literature. What is Sangam literature? Sangam literature is the earliest example of Tamil literature composed during the early centuries of Common Era. They blended with the values of Bhakti, and they composed a lot of poems and transformed into songs. So these Alvar and Nayanas, they were sharply critical to the Buddhists and Jainas, and they preach adherent love to Shiva and Vishnu as the path of salvation. Here very sharp division was there between Nayanar and Alvars, but their ultimate motto was complete devotion through to the path of salvation. Their god was different. One group is following the devotee of Shiva and another was the devotee of Vishnu. So Alvar, they are the follower of Vishnu, and Nayanar, they are the follower of Lord Shiva. Now I am coming to the detail of Nayanars. There are 63 Nayanars. They belong to different caste backgrounds such as potters, untouchable, worker, peasants, hunters, soldiers, brahmanas and chiefs. So different caste people are joining in this group, who were initially neglected outside of this ritual practice. Those people are getting to be the part of that movement. The best known among them were Appar, Samandar, Sundarar and Manikava Sagar. There are two sets of compilation of their songs, that is Tevaram and Tiruvakam. First one is Tevaram and Tiruvakam. Next part. These two compilations, there is a compilation of songs which has been compiled by 12. There are 12 Alvars. They came from here I already marked equally divergent few of the backgrounds, and the best known you also to the among them were Periyalvar, his daughter Andal, then Tondaradipoddi Alvar and Namavalvar. So from the name itself you can understand they were from Alvar group. Their songs were also compiled in Divya Prabandham. So from these two slides you can understand what are the difference between Nayanar and Alvars. Both the group were very much responsible for the initial or the first stage of Bhakti movement in South India, which has started during the time of 7th to 9th century. Between this time, 10th and 12th century, the Chola and Pandya king built elaborate temples around many of the shrines visited by saint poets, and strengthening the links between the Bhakti tradition and temple worship. As you know, the rulers are building temples to convey their power, and some of the time rulers presented themselves as the representative of God. So it was very important to create that relation or that communication between the Bhakti tradition and temple worship, or else it will not gain the popularity. This may also the time when the poems were compiled, the poems of these saints. So that compilation I already referred. And we come to know about Nayanar and Alvars from the hagiographies. What is hagiography? The writing of saints' life and the religious biographies of the Alvar and Nayanar, which has been composed over there that particular time. These are being used as the source for writing the histories of Bhakti movement. Now I am coming to the next part, the philosophy and Bhakti. What is the philosophy and how this philosophy has explained through Bhakti? Here you can see Shankara, this Shankaracharya, one of the most influential philosophers of India, was born in Kerala in the 8th century. He was an advocate of Advaita, or the doctrine of the oneness of the individual soul and the Supreme God, which is the ultimate reality. He referred about that. He taught that Brahma, the only or ultimate reality, was formless and without any attributes. He preached renunciation of the world and adoption of the path of knowledge to understand the true nature of Brahma and attain salvation. He was advocate of Advaita, and through this philosophy he established the formless God, the concept of formless God. At the same time, another philosophy also came into effect, which has been laid by Ramanuja. He born in Tamil Nadu in 11th century, later on Shankaracharya. He was deeply influenced by the Alvars, means the follower of Vishnu. The best means of attaining salvation was through intense devotion to Vishnu. As he was the follower of Alvar, so his concept and explanation was based on Vishnu. And with the grace of Vishnu, the devotee will attain the bliss of union with him. Here him means Vishnu, and here Vishnu has been explained as Supreme God, or that formless God turned into as Vishnu, to whom you can completely surrender. It was the concept of Ramanuja. He propounded the doctrine of Vishishta Advaita. Ramanuja's doctrine greatly inspired the new strand of bhakti which developed in North India subsequently. He propounded the doctrine Vishishta Advaita, or the qualified oneness, in that the soul, even when united with Supreme God, remained distinct. Here is the difference between Advaita and Vishishta Advaita. Advaita formless and Vishishta Advaita formless. It is not formless, it is actually renunciation through the path of salvation and reaching to the ultimate God, that is Vishnu. And then after that also the soul is distinct. That is the basic difference between Advaita and the Advaitavad and Vishishta Advaitavad. Both of them propounded and influenced the bhakti movement a lot. So after that we are moving to the next part, that is the saint of Maharashtra. From the 13th to 17th century, Maharashtra saw a great number of saint poets whose songs in simple Marathi continue to inspire people. The most important among them was Janeshwar or the Ganeshwar, Namdev, Eknath, Tukaram, as well as women like Sakhubai and the family of Chokha Mela, who belong to the untouchable Mahar caste. This regional tradition of bhakti focused on Vithala, a form of Vishnu, a temple in Pandharpur, as well as one of the notion of a personal God residing in the hearts of all people. It is another notion of bhakti. The saint of Maharashtra preached for this. The saint poets rejected all form of ritualism. And here you can see, from the 13th to 17th century, Maharashtra saw a great number of saint poets whose songs in simple Marathi, and already I referred about the name and marked also. This regional tradition of bhakti focused on Vithala, that is temple in Pandharpur. It has started from there. They insisted that the bhakti lay in the sharing of others' pain. This particular form of bhakti movement is more secular, as well as it is towards equality. here, step by step, you can easily understand that all the bhakti movements by different group, their intention was to set up the equality in the society. Their name, their group, their ideologies, their isms are different, but the basic concept is to reach to the Supreme God, maybe formless or maybe having in form, through the path of salvation. This is the most interesting part of Bhakti movement. Now I can refer about another thing, that is the Basavana's Veerashaivism. Basavana's Veerashaivism is a little bit different from the previous group. The connection between the Tamil Bhakti movement and temple worship led to the Veerashaiva movement, which is led by Basavana. It was initiated by Basavana and his companions like Alamma Prabhu and Akka Mahadevi. This movement began in Karnataka in mid 12th century. We are coming little bit forward. The Basavana argued strongly for the equality of all human beings. I already referred about that. They were against Brahmanical ideas about caste and the treatment of women. They were also against all form of rituals and idol worship. So this movement also created a lot of impact on the society, that is Veerashaiva movement. Now finally I am coming to the last part of the early stage of Bhakti movement in South India, that is the Nathpanthi, Siddhas and Yogis, which actually influenced a lot later on the North Indian religious practice and the Bhakti movement. They advocated renunciation of the world. To achieve this, they advocated intense training of mind and body to the practice like yogasanas, breathing exercise and meditation. This group became particularly popular among the low caste. Their criticism of conventional religion created the ground for the devotional religion to become a popular force in the North India. This Nathpanthi, Siddhas and Yogis are another group of Bhakti movement. So whatever the group and whatever the activity I discuss, it is all based on the Bhakti movement, different forms, and gradually it has developed and created a huge impact on the human society of medieval India. The next part, that will be the North Indian Bhakti movement, that we will discuss later on. Today up to this, you will be getting some of the questions related with this portion. Prepare that part for your half yearly examination. From this chapter, entire chapter will not be the part of your half yearly exam. Up to Nathpanthi, Siddhas and Yogis, that part, up to that part only, the part of your half yearly syllabus, that will be later on intimated in the group accordingly. So children, I hope this video will help you to understand the concept of Bhakti movement for the early stage and go through the textbook also, because whatever the points I referred, the synopsis I have given in front of you, that is based on the text also. So children, prepare your lesson nicely. You will be getting question after the end of this session, and some of the question will be provided through Word file. That will also help you out to prepare your lessons properly. Until then, stay well and goodbye.